In just 10 minutes, uncover the most powerful insights from Joe Rogan's conversation with disaster chef José Andrés. This gripping interview exposes how governments let kids die who really fed them, and why food is the world's most overlooked weapon. These 10 takeaways reveal shocking truths about disaster relief, cooking in war zones, and how food can fight power, politics, and pure chaos. Takeaway 1. Governments fail, food does not. José Andrés makes a bold statement that food does not fail. People do. In humanitarian disasters, governments often act too slowly, trapped in bureaucracy and politics, while people on the ground are hungry and desperate. José emphasizes that World Central Kitchen, or WCK, shows up immediately, not waiting for permission or coordination with slow-moving institutions. He argues that in the aftermath of disasters, it is not the lack of food that is the issue, but the lack of urgency and willingness to serve. His organization operates with a sense of emergency and boots-on-the-ground efficiency, directly delivering meals rather than getting tangled in theoretical strategies. He criticizes institutions that are overly focused on planning and assessment while ignoring the hungry mouse in front of them. He believes that every meal served is an act of hope and resilience. For example, during the Ukraine war, while many governments were still negotiating aid packages and evacuations, WCK had already set up mobile kitchens at the border, feeding thousands of refugees every day. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 2, chefs can be first responders too. Andrés says chefs should be seen not just as culinary artists, but as emergency responders in crises. He notes that after hurricanes, wars, or earthquakes, chefs from his team are often the first ones on the scene, with knives in hand and a sense of purpose. He believes that chefs understand logistics better than many government planners, because feeding thousands on short notice demands coordination, supply chain awareness, and improvisation. He argues that a plate of food can stabilize communities before any policy or aid package arrives. He talks about feeding tens of thousands in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, even before FEMA had a meaningful presence on the island. For example, he recalls cooking sancocho, a traditional Puerto Rican stew, in massive paella pans over open fires to ensure people had warm meals when supermarkets and power lines were destroyed. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 3. Bureaucracy kills faster than hunger. José Andrés warns that bureaucracy is one of the deadliest forces in a humanitarian crisis. He argues that delay caused by forms, policies, and planning meetings often results in deaths that could have been prevented with quicker action. He is especially critical of international NGOs and government agencies that prioritize paperwork and coordination over direct response. He says he does not believe in asking for permission when people are hungry. His model involves fast deployment, sometimes even on the same day a disaster strikes, relying on chefs, local kitchens, and volunteers. For example, in Turkey after the earthquake, the WCK began operations the same day, while most international aid organizations were still planning logistics. He says the secret is to trust the people on the ground rather than a distant committee deciding what to do. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 4. Food is political whether we like it or not. José Andrés makes it clear that food is deeply political. He argues that what people eat, who has access to it, and how it is distributed reflects the power structures of society. He says even deciding who gets served first or who gets fresh produce versus canned food is a political decision. He challenges the idea that chefs should stay away from politics. According to him, silence is also a form of political expression. When he shows up in places like Gaza or Ukraine, it is not just about feeding the hungry, but also about making a statement that the world sees these people and cares. For example, he talks about serving hot meals to civilians in Mariupol under shelling, saying that was not just relief work, but resistance to terror. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 5. Kitchens can heal a wounded community. He believes that kitchens are more than places for food prep. They are symbols of community, culture, and resilience. After a disaster, reopening a kitchen is often the first sign of recovery. He explains how people gathering around food helps reduce trauma and restore a sense of normalcy. He emphasizes the importance of cooking familiar meals to provide emotional comfort. In his words, feeding someone is also a form of listening. He shares stories of women in Haiti who insisted on cooking their own rice and beans for neighbors instead of being handed foreign meals. For example, in Mozambique after a cyclone, WCK partnered with local cooks to prepare dishes using native grains like millet and cassava, helping people regain a sense of control and pride. We're halfway through the video. Thanks for sticking with us. If you're enjoying it, hit the thumbs up and share it in your WhatsApp groups. If you'd like to support us, please tap the thanks button below. It helps us keep making great content. Drop a comment and don't forget to hit subscribe for more. Now let's continue with the video. Takeaway 6. Speed saves lives more than scale. While many organizations aim for scale, José Andrés stresses speed. He believes that being fast and small is more effective in the first days of a disaster than being large and slow. He says even feeding 100 people quickly is better than planning to feed 10,000 a week later. He criticizes agencies that spend days conducting needs assessments while children are starving. He explains how WCK moves into a disaster zone with portable kitchens, local volunteers, and a flexible approach. They make decisions on the fly based on immediate needs. For example, in Maui during the wildfire crisis, WCK began food distribution within hours of the fire spreading, long before local or federal agencies could mobilize their full response. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 7. Cooking is about empathy, not ego. Andrés says his philosophy of food is rooted in empathy. He rejects the idea of cooking as performance or as a path to fame. For him, a good meal is one that meets someone where they are, whether it is on a white tablecloth or a broken sidewalk. He believes the chef's role is to serve, not to be admired. He tells young chefs to stop chasing Michelin stars and start chasing impact. He explains how a sandwich made with love during a crisis is more meaningful than any gourmet dish. For example, he remembers handing out simple lentil stew to Syrian refugees in Greece and seeing their tears as they recognize the taste of home and family in a bowl. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 8. Local food beats imported aid. He criticizes the practice of shipping food across oceans during crises when local supply chains can be activated. He says it is both disrespectful and wasteful to fly in pallets of American peanut butter when local farmers have fresh produce. He believes in empowering local economies instead of sidelining them with foreign aid. He calls it food sovereignty, where communities retain control over what they eat and how it is cooked. He recalls how in the Dominican Republic after a flood, WCK sourced everything locally, from plantains to chicken, giving business to farmers and dignity to survivors. For example, in Pakistan, instead of shipping rice from Europe, they paid local mills to supply grain, boosting both relief efforts and the economy. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 9, feeding is faster than fixing. He explains that while systems like healthcare and housing take time to rebuild, food relief can be instant. A hot meal can be served in hours and has an immediate effect on morale and survival. He says food is a bridge, buying time while bigger systems catch up. He does not see food as the only solution, but as the first response. In disaster zones, he often sees traumatized people calm down simply after eating. It gives them the energy and clarity to think, move, and help others. For example, after the Beirut explosion, WCK served meals within 24 hours, giving people enough support to begin clearing rubble and finding relatives. Now let's move to the last takeaway. Takeaway 10. Change starts with one plate at a time. Finally, José Andrés believes that changing the world does not require big plans, just small acts done with care. One plate of food at a time, one community at a time, the world begins to heal. He says the idea that only governments or large NGOs can make a difference is wrong. Everyone has a role, and chefs especially have the tools to help. He ends with a reminder that food is the only thing we all need every day, so it should be at the center of how we respond to crises. For example, in Venezuela during a political crisis, WCK worked with local churches to serve meals quietly and respectfully, avoiding the media while making sure people had enough to eat without shame. Here's a brief introduction about José Andrés. José Andrés is a chef, restaurateur, TV host, author, and founder of the nonprofit organization World Central Kitchen. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support this channel, hit the thanks button below. It really helps us keep going. If you enjoyed this summary, please leave a like and share it in your WhatsApp groups. To join discussion about this video, drop a comment below. And for more videos like this, hit the subscribe button below.